Well, hey everybody, welcome to our Next Moves video this week, and we are talking about Ephesians 5:22 through 33. If you haven't caught the message, please go back. Nathan did a great job in talking through this scripture and what God really means through it. It's rich text, but it's talking specifically about a godly marriage. What does a godly marriage look like? What are the ingredients? What are the things that are involved in a godly marriage? And what's important is a lot of what we see in today's world does not represent God's design for marriage. From the beginning, in Genesis all the way to Revelation, we see that God has this beautiful picture of marriage. He made marriage before sin even entered the world, so it was meant to be a piece of heaven and not a piece of hell. Oh, what's the experience that so many of us have seen and we've experienced ourselves? See, God made it as a beautiful picture of God and his people, Christ and his church. But here's what we've got to see today. There's a list of ingredients that happen in these 12 verses from Ephesians 5:22 through 33. It's unfair. 9 of them are for the husband, roughly. We're rounding up, and 3 of them are for the wife. So just hear this today, and here's what I want to liken it to. You know, there's lots of ways to make chocolate chip cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies. And to be fair, you can get the store-bought brand, and that's fine. You just slice them up. They're easy. You throw them in there. But aren't homemade chocolate chip cookies awesome? The list of ingredients are the same pretty much across the boards. It's the methods and the time and all the stuff that goes into it that's personal, that changes from chocolate chip cookie to recipes and things like that. So here's what we know. Like that, could I get the list of ingredients? If I leave those out or put them in the wrong steps, do I even have chocolate chip cookies? If you just throw some flour in the oven and cook it for 12 minutes, do you have chocolate chip cookies? No. No, there's not only do we have to have the ingredients, we have to have the order so that it's honoring to what the recipe is. And for our marriage today, we've got 3 steps in this, 3 things that stick out that we need to know. First, what's the list of ingredients? Well, for the wife, it is to submit and respect. And it's in the same way that the church does to Christ, but he says, wives, submit and respect your husbands. So in those verses, we find that that's the list of ingredients from the wife. The second thing for the husbands is this, and it's a pretty decent list, so you better have your grocery list ready, husbands, to love, agape love, the same way Christ loved the church, sacrificial. It's a cleansing type love. He's cleansing, nourishing, cherishing, and holding fast to your wife. Man, this is a list, and it's substantial. But what we know is this is the ingredient list for God's model for marriage, for the way that he has this recipe set up for marriage. Number 2, what are the steps that need to take place? Well, first and foremost, we know this. God's design is that we have a personal relationship with him. So the first thing we have to realize, as the husband leads the wife in loving her, he has to get with God before he gets with anybody else. And wives, this is no different. You're not going to be able to submit or respect your husbands the way that God calls us to unless you're getting with God first. Husbands, you should be leading this out. Leading it out and then leading your wife to do the very same thing. 2 people in a marriage, both focused on their personal relationship with God, there's no way you can't get closer as long as your focus is on the right thing. Focus your relationship with God first for both of you, and you will naturally lean and draw together over time. And lastly, I just want to say this, worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. We're so busy in this world of pointing fingers and noticing everybody else's problems. And for years I did this. I was so worried about praying for God to change my wife, when really what God was wanting to do was change my heart and my mind. All you can do is say grace over yourself. Here's what I know. I started praying for God to change me into the husband that he called me to be, and it changed everything. When I took my eyes off of what I wanted God to change in everybody else and I started to look at what God wanted to change in me, my heart and my mind began to change. Today, would you start to pray the prayer, God, change me into the spouse that you call and command me to be in Ephesians 5, that I may love as the husband as you love your church, and as the wife, that I may submit and respect my husband in the way that you call me to, Father, out of reverence for Christ. It's a beautiful picture. There's so much more to talk about. Catch the message if you haven't. Click on that care card. if there's a way we can pray or walk through the season of life with you, and know this, that like in James 1:22, he says this, be doers of the word and not hearers only. Application leads to life transformation. Apply this to your marriage or to those around you for God's best for your marriage today. Hope to see you soon. Have a great rest of your day.